So when you get to like my age and you have kids and you become like old, like all the old people are like terrified of video games and like the internet, right? Like I'm just telling you, like at the old guy cafe where we have like our, you know, our coffee and our hash browns and sit and talk about how the world's falling apart. Like that's the stuff that comes up, right? Like all the kids these days, man, they're on apps, they're on social media, they're on the internet, they don't know how to connect with people. So it's like funny to talk about that from like an old guy perspective, but like you had some of that experience, like it became real for you, like where that did invade and it did become a problem. Was there any warnings about that or awareness of that? Like did people talk about like that, or is it just sort of like a naive time and you just kind of stumbled into it, you know?
I think I stumbled into it because during that time, I mean, I didn't grow up with a smartphone. I didn't get a smartphone until I was 18. So I had like, I think a flip phone or slide phone through high school that you had to, it took like 10 minutes to type out a text message because you had to like hit one button 3 times or whatever.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think I kind of, like, I remember AOL Instant Messenger being a thing when I was in middle school. And then all of a sudden Call of Duty became a hit when I was in high school. I started going on the internet a lot around 13, 14, 15. I really think I stumbled into it. I think I was in the generation where growing up, like I didn't grow up with a lot of technology other than like N64, but like it got really, really complicated, like technology did by the time I was 18.
Yeah, it's like Pandora's box kind of opened and we didn't really know that there were negative effects. It just seemed awesome, you know, and convenient and easy. And now it's not taking 3 clicks. And I mean, you're talking to a guy who carried a beeper around high school, right? So like, I mean, it's true. So yeah, for sure. So when we talk about it being a problem, right? So I want to hear a little bit more about it because I hear nervousness and I hear anxiety and I hear, you know, an adult looking back saying, yeah, this caused problems for me. But I'm interested in what, you know, those problems it caused beyond like just kind of feeling socially awkward. Like, you know, what was the cost? I mean, because you know, there's a concept out there right now that people talk about cheap dopamine, right? So all of these things, you get a little bit of a dopamine hit, you get a serotonin uptick, sorry. So pornography is a big one, you know, the gaming can be that. And there's a real sort of temptation with the cheap dopamine, like, is it good for us to get that if it's not earned, right? So normally you go out, you go through the nervousness, you hold the girl's hand, boom, dopamine, right? You don't have to go through all that difficulty on the front end. So I'm curious as what the cost was for you and, you know, what you were feeling outside of just that nervousness. Like what problems did this create for you?
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I got an outside perspective on, because I remember talking to a girl that I wasn't really nervous around. I was friends with her. And she said that a guy would text her a lot or like message her online a lot. But when she saw him in person, it was like the dude was silent. And that was happening a lot, I think, with shy people that I was peers with in high school. That was happening with me. So you're right. I mean, you do get a dopamine hit. I remember like getting text messages from girls and I'm like, sweet, I'm talking to this girl. But it's like, if you have a conversation over text message or like over text and you never see her in person, what are you actually getting? So the huge cost is like actual human contact, I think is like, that's like the big cost.
It's almost like you cost yourself those developmental opportunities, right? Which creates a deeper hole to dig out of, right? So I'm lacking some of that confidence or I'm lacking some of those skills on the front end. You almost find a workaround, right? You find a way to get the cheese that doesn't come with learning how to do the maze, right? And so now you're even less equipped to do it as life goes on and it's more required and more expected, right? Because you get older, it's sort of expected you would develop those social skills and be able to manage that. And you're like, I'm still a rookie here. I haven't gone through that developmental stuff.
I had this idea when I was like 15 or 16 that when I was 23, all of a sudden I was going to be confident because 23-year-olds are just confident, you know, when you're in your 20s. But when I was 22 and 23, I was still like nervous. So that kind of, it kind of backfired on me, just like waiting like that. And just having this idea that I'll be confident when I'm in my 20s. But it's like, no, yeah, you're right. You have to like you have to actually develop it. So at around 22, I kind of had to go into overdrive developing those social skills.
Well, I'm glad you went there because that's what I was curious about next was sort of like, you know, because you don't seem excessively anxious or shy or nervous right now. And so obviously things have changed for you. So what was that process? What did you do about it? And like, what triggered you to like, okay, I've got to do something about this, you know, like how did it change?